Risk and Controls Leader for IBM Cloud for Financial Services, and I'm very happy to have the opportunity today to talk to you about DORA. So in a different context, DORA might sound like a friendly old lady. In the context of financial services, it is a major piece of regulation that the European Commission is driving forward. The aim being to harmonize ICT risk across a very broad scope of financial services entities. Now, when we talk about regulation, unless you are a lawyer, a risk specialist, a compliance officer, or a consultant, the tendency is generally to tune out, unless also you're the person being asked to foot the bill. This here actually is much more of a business-centric topic than a lot of people are giving it credit for. And why is that? Well, let's unpack it. The D is for digital, the O is for operational, the R is for resilience. Those are three foundational pillars, and they're not just foundational pillars for regulatory compliance, they are foundational pillars of customer experience. There is no financial entity that is going to be successful without being able to deliver digitally delightful customer experience. So when we're talking about something that is as broad in scope as DORA is, there is the potential for it to be multi-year and expensive. What else do we know that has been multi-year and expensive and delivering dubious value? Digital transformation. We've been doing it forever. It hasn't ended. And yet 70% of organizations say they've failed. Now, they don't say very often openly that they've failed, but there's a feeling that there's been a great deal of investment, a great deal of effort, a lot of work put in, and yet the results are underwhelming. Now, I'm not so interested in the 70% that have failed. What I'm more interested in is the 30% who've done something right. Now, the ones that have struggled have something in common. Lack of clear goals and conflicting priorities. Talent issues around skill gaps. Lack of internal engagement. Maybe a little bit counterintuitively, they didn't aim high enough, didn't try to go far enough. And that there was not enough investment or commitment to actually drive change and really have a pervasive movement into the business so that it became business as usual. So these are the characteristics of when it doesn't go great. What I want to suggest is, knowing what we know about what's gone wrong in digital transformation, how about we don't make those same mistakes in relation to DORA? Now, there would be a very easy temptation to say, it's a tech problem, let's hand it off to IT. That would be easy. It would also be misguided, because much like digital transformation, it's a business issue that we're dealing with here. IT, serious contributor, possible owner, but not alone. The same way an innovation team cannot drive your business transformation alone, your IT team, for sure, isn't going to be able to make your business resilient. So when we look at the 30% who've actually done something right in relation to their digital transformation, well, what is it that they've been doing right? They've been doing the hard stuff, and their organizations and their leadership have allowed them to. They've been given enterprise-level patience to actually work on things that are foundational, that take time, that aren't easy, but across data capabilities, cybersecurity and data privacy, and modernizing their infrastructure. These are hard things to do, but the benefits you can reap once you've done them, you're opening yourself up to a world of possibilities where you get to make choices because you can, not because it's all that you're left with. So all of these elements here are things that are present in DORA. And what I'm suggesting is that there is a mindset to approaching DORA that goes beyond saying we have to, we don't really want to, and embracing it to say all of these strands, maybe they are building blocks that we can actually construct something out of because we have a vision for where we want our business to go. This regulation, we're going to have to do it. But let's do it in a way that it serves us, not that it constrains us. Now, if we just take a step to the side for 1 second and say, where did this resilience topic come from? The financial services sector has been feeling overwhelmed and sometimes unfairly burdened by regulations since the financial crisis. The tendency has been to say, if we take care of our credit risk, our counterparty risk, our market risk, our liquidity risk, and we stock up on our capital reserves, we're good. We can withstand pretty much any disruption. Then we had a few black swan events. COVID would be the one I think that would probably come to everybody's mind. What we've seen is that you can be supremely well endowed with capital. It doesn't mean that you can respond and recover from disruption. So all of the regulation that dealt with capital reserves, it doesn't go away, but operational resilience is on top of that. And it's a different kind of mindset. It is a different type of discipline. We have to move not away from risk management, but this is not one or the other. It's not an and or, it's this, risk management plus. We're not just measuring probabilities. We're operating on the assumption that at some stage, disruption is inevitable. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know when it's going to happen. We don't know the impact. And we need to get comfortable with not knowing. And it's hard. Getting comfortable with a state of constant uncertainty, as humans, we don't like it. But what we're doing is positioning ourselves so that no matter what happens, we are able to pivot. We're able to adapt, we're able to adjust. And one of the things that we're seeing in places like the UK, where they're a little bit further ahead in terms of implementing operational resilience regulation, is that the organizations that are managing to do it well, they're getting to a level of clarity that has resulted from long, sometimes turbulent conversations in the organization about what is it that we do? What is the most essential thing that we do? And a lot of it actually came out of COVID. The organizations that were able to filter through all of the things that they thought were essential to really get to the absolutely essential, they're the ones that are much better able now to say, not everything can be critical, because if everything's critical, nothing's critical. Not everything can be a priority, because everything is, well, then we're prioritizing nothing. So the ones that are able to get to a really crisp, succinct, unarguable foundation of this is what drives the economic engine of our business, and nobody disagrees with it anymore, that's the thing that actually allows you to have the conversation across your organization, top to bottom and transversally. And even when you start having arguments about are we going to do something or not, if you find yourself in an impasse, you go back to, does this support the business functions we have identified as being critical? If it doesn't, park it, let's move on. So this here is not a one and done conversation. It will take time to get to it, but it's really important to get to it so that nobody is in any doubt about what are the things that we're going to focus on. The other thing that this drives as a massive benefit is that when I worked in security, prioritization, what do we spend the budget on? Well, finally we're getting to a point of clarity and a point that everybody is agreeing on. Because if we have established that certain business functions and processes and services are what drives the economic engine of the bank, well then that's where the dollars go. And by having one discussion that gets to this level of clarity, we're able to quell a million other arguments that were much more incidental. Now, the 5 pillars of DORA, when you look at them here, what we've got: ICT risk management, operational resilience testing, incident reporting, information intelligence sharing, third-party risk management. They're complex topics in of themselves. And again, it could be tempting to say we're going to break it up, because we like doing that. We like breaking things up. Breaking things up makes us feel like we're kind of in control, and we'll package it up and we'll give that to somebody and we're all good, with sort of a thin veil of project management across the top. It's one approach. I'm not going to say it's wrong. It all depends what your ambitions are. And going back to that earlier slide, where one of the characteristics of digital transformation that fails to deliver is that people weren't aiming high enough. So if you want to just have a tidy information sharing function, sure, you can do that. But if you really want to develop into an organization that is embracing this holistically and having the opportunity to get much more value from the investment that you're going to be making in this, how about looking at it and saying, how can we tie it to the business? And how can we look at how we're interacting with our ecosystem? Because the thing about resilience is that every organization needs to take care of itself, but nobody exists in isolation. We are existing in a system. We are interacting with our third parties, our suppliers, our regulators. And more, while we have to accept responsibility for ourselves, we cannot isolate ourselves from all of the other entities with which we are interacting and doing business. So all of these 5 pillars here, my suggestion is that there be specialists who look at them, but then specialists in transversal collaboration. So it's important to have people who go deep, people who can deal with the intricacies. It's also super important to have people who can go across, the bridge builders, the translators. Because what you'll find is that the specialists in each domain, they're super important. We need them. But we also need people who are able to see the adjacencies, because the value lies in the liminal space between all of those blocks. And making sure that we can tie them together so that it makes sense, so that we're not making the same errors that we made in relation to digital transformation, where things were taken as silos. If we make this a business-centric and a customer-centric conversation, there is so much more opportunity to get people excited about it. If it's positioned as a regulatory topic, it's going to just get added to a bucket list of constraints that we have to deal with. If it's positioned as, this is really going to help us deliver better customer experience, it's not just going to keep us out of the headlines because we don't want to be fined and we don't want to be in the headlines. This is actually going to allow us to build the foundational capabilities that will make us a better bank, make our customers appreciate the services that we're delivering, allow people to delight. Because beyond just the statistic of 70% of digital transformation projects failing, there are people. There are people inside all of those organizations trying to deliver. That's so much talent that's being wasted. That is so many man hours. That is soul-destroying work when people can't see the impact of what they're trying to deliver. When it goes well, these 5 characteristics: digital will, digital skill, it has to be positioned from the top. The message from the board, from the C-suite, is that this matters, and we are here to champion you, we are here to help you. Integrated strategy, clear goals. The leadership direction, it needs to come down and it needs to go all across, and it needs to happen consistently. Talent. Again, coming from a cybersecurity background, we have a tendency to say there is a talent shortage. Yes and no. There is disgruntled talent out in the industry. So many people who want to contribute to something that they feel is meaningful. Let's give people something meaningful to work on. And that requires context. It requires people who have influence and authority to create the conditions where those talented people can thrive. Shared commitment, again, it's something that people feel that they're contributing to, and they're really clear on. It comes back to that foundation that is unarguable. What are we working on? Well, we're working on prioritizing these other things. We've got things on our periphery, we'll get to them, but this unarguable foundation, it's what binds us. And I've seen this work in the most complex organizations outside of financial services. There's a public sector organization involved in healthcare. And what was characteristic of this organization was that IT could not work with ops. They just couldn't get along until we found a way of sort of mediating an agreement between them and said, right, what is the thing that you all want to be involved in? And they said, well, we all want to protect patients. Right. That's the foundation. Nobody's arguing with that. Same thing needs to happen in financial services. What are we all trying to deliver? Great customer experience, whatever it is. But people need to be bound by that. And it's the thing that they share. And it's the thing that will allow there to be this cross-functional collaboration that will tone down and take the edge off arguments, that will stop the territorial fights. People will focus on getting stuff done, and they will find ways, because people like achieving. Disciplined monitoring of progress, not letting things drift, having hard conversations, making sure that the goals that we've set, people are delivering on, and if they turn out to not be achievable, that we have that conversation again and we recalibrate. But the digital will, it needs to come from the top so that the digital skill can be as high performing as it wants to be. And all of this delivers what was needed and is still needed for digital transformation success: alignment, clarity, focus, cohesion, and momentum. We're looking to build a transformational motion. It's very counterintuitive to say we could get something as business impactful from a regulation. Typically, it's a line that gets trotted out in the industry. Nobody really believes it. In this case, I do. I do because the resiliency is absolutely necessary for customers to want to give you their trust. It's the foundation. So we're looking to deliver a really strategically impactful program that serves the business, that aligns with customer expectations, and that is measurable over time. So this is something that we're working on really consistently in IBM Cloud for Financial Services, and we're doing it within the Cloud Council that we run with a variety of banks from all across the globe and within what we call the FS Cloud community. Everybody is learning by doing, and I'm not claiming that this is easy. It's not, but like anything that's worth doing, it's worth doing well. We're looking to mobilize with as many industry stakeholders as we can, and that means technology providers, regulators, supervisors, and banks, so that we can share best practices and learning, so that we can figure out what is the best way of approaching some of these really tough issues. And we'd love to bring you with us on that journey. So an open invitation to you to join the cloud community. We've just recently published a paper on operational resilience testing. We're looking to build on that and expand on it. But my strong encouragement to everybody is to take a look at this with the mindset of it's not a constraint. Yes, you do have to do it, but by embracing it with the mindset of it's for our own good, and there is actually an awful lot of benefit for us individually and for the industry of getting this right. It's not a regulation that's going to drain us. It's a regulation that can really collectively and individually support us as we try to drive forward to better levels of digital service for ourselves and our customers. So with that, I will say thank you very much for attending, and I'm here for questions if you have any.